Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to me being ungroomed. And before I have coffee, let's see how it goes, right? Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. Before we do, the usual disclaimers. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please pay special attention to the article written in there by Neuroclastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened Neuroclastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Neuroclastic refused, so you know the drill, folks. Please read the article, share on all your social media. Also included is Neuroclastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC actually does see through with their threat. All right, folks, trigger warnings, but first an update because I'm still planning on that RFK Junior series. It's just, I've literally needed to take a break from the special level of crazy that has been introduced to me by being willing to go down that particular rabbit hole. Because I tried to go in with eyes wide open with objectivity. I know I've got quite a bit of ego on me, in particular when it has to do with mental health care, and service programs for people with disabilities. So I was trying to push that aside, make sure the resources from where I was getting my information in regards to what this man actually stands for is not coming from folks who could have a conflict of interest. The problem is, folks, it doesn't get better. It got worse. Way worse. Holy crap. So, I've got to detox from it for a little bit. When I do start the series, I'm going to go in depth first in regards to the anti-vax movement and where it comes from, because that is absolutely central to the story. We're going to be going through more in depth in regards to Andrew Wakefield, where a good majority of this crap has started, at least for the modern world, and the insanity that just kind of have gone downhill from there. But I'm going to take a couple more days break and, have a fun New Year's before I dive once again into that special level of crazy. All right, folks, when we talk about places like Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please utilize the headphones. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very much advised. Also, in regards to the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, we are about to indulge once again and read the batshit insane narrative that the JRC has been pushing for over the last 40 years. There is abuse apologencia galore. There is smearing and blaming of the survivors of their insanity. They have a tendency in their own defense, to draw up stories in regards to the students there that are very heavily cherry-picked. And they do try to paint these poor kids in as bleak terms as humanly possible. They're trying to elicit a knee-jerk emotional response out of you by means of shock and awe. So that you are so shocked, it shocks you out of rational brain. Because rational brain, even if it is an extreme situation, will still tell you that there are other ways to deal with, help assist in regards in dealing with that type of behavior that is actually the current standard of care and does have a very decent success rate instead of slapping a human shock collar on people. So just be prepared for the monumental stupid, the gaslighting, and the abuse and torture apologencia. I'm going to point out the hypocrisy every single time. And before we get into it, I am also going to remind you all and remind the JRC that once again, they are regurgitating all the same shit while pretending they've never heard any of the challenges in regards to their narrative, such as the oldie but goodie. If they have tried everything, why is there, in regards to the medical history, not a single full functional behavioral assessment as recognized by the rest of the international developmental disability treatment programs, all of us who have worked in this field? Why have these kids not ever had that done? Also, speaking of, they usually try to fight when they choose to acknowledge they heard anything at all, but we do the assessments in-house. Okay, we dug up one of those assessments. It is no way, shape, or form has any actual resemblance to a full functional behavioral assessment as used by the rest of everybody else in this field whatsoever. Their version of its literal purpose, if you read it point blank for what it is in regards to how do we incite these poor kids to have those behaviors so that we can then punish them in horrifically painful ways so that they know that it's wrong. So, keep that in mind while we go ahead and go back to RAG. So, RAG is a 23-year-old man with severe intellectual disability, a severe behavior disorder, and autism spectrum disorder requiring very substantial support. You think? Again, with my frame of work, I have also dealt with those who have comorbid disabilities, including those who are quote unquote very severe. A lot of them either partially verbal or nonverbal. Okay? I am talking about specifically those whose homes I've been inside where they have bars on the door and bars on the windows. All right? I also know after, advocating that these poor parents actually get those full functional behavioral assessments done and working together, building a proper circle of support, we were able to find the treatment programs for those kids, just like the ones they lambast at the JRC, to help them deal with those behaviors. And yes, over time, sometimes even taking about 2 to 3 years, depending on the situation, those behaviors started to decrease over time because these folks were now operating off of the information garnered from that full functional behavioral assessment. That's literally what they're there for, folks. Literally what they're there for. You can't say you've tried everything and nothing else will work when you haven't got that assessment done. Period. Okay? Spinning the tail on the donkey while blind, and I don't even know what to tell you with that one, all right? So let's go in here. And yes, even those with substantial supports. Okay? He has recently begun ESD treatment after years of unsuccessful treatment for his SIB and AB, and after the Massachusetts probate court ordered a 30-day temporary authorization to determine if the decrease would work for RAG. My question is, at any point in time in regards to this particular student, was there a proper full functional behavioral assessment done right after diagnosis? Yes or no? And I do mean the one that literally all the rest of us use. Did that happen? I mean, it's kind of fundamental and foundational in regards to proper medicine treatment programs, community-based programs, and residential programs. It is absolutely crucial to getting to the bottom of these behaviors so that we can start working on them. Did this child have that done or not before, not during, before getting hauled off to the JRC or thrown into some other program? Yes or no? Because if the answer is no, that means you did not try everything. You kept doing constant Hail Marys, throwing this poor kid in program to program, and continue to get shocked and more stressed when they didn't work. Because no, duh. Okay, if you don't know what's triggering behavior, then there's not gonna be a real foundational way to reduce said troubling behavior permanently, or even bring it down to a baseline. Okay? So once again, this fails, and it fails because I've already not just been through the service system myself, but have worked in said service system. I know how things are supposed to work. Intimately, I might add. Okay? Was that assessment done or not? Yes or no, JRC? It's a simple question that you all continue to dodge as though you're running from the Black Death itself. And have yet, at any point in time to directly answer that question in any way that's actually meaningful. Just saying. Treatments that you just throw these poor kids into before that foundational assessment is done are more than likely not going to be successful. They're not going to work because you do not know what's wrong. You are operating blindly. Okay? That's been my point for years, decades. Holy shit. I've been going over this since I was in my 20s. I am 40 years old. It's very simple. You can't throw a kid in a program when there's no foundation to work off of. You can't just throw someone in a special school and give their direct care staff, teachers, and clinical team absolutely fucking nothing in regards to what could be possibly triggering this. What the hell are they supposed to do? As far as I know, none of those poor people are psychic. So you sitting there saying, but they went to school and none of it's successful. No shit. If you don't have a foundation to work off of, if you don't have that foundational information that is 100% crucial to have when deciding on a proper treatment program, medication, and what have you, yes, it's going to fail. And yes, those behaviors are going to continue to get worse. And the reason why it's going to get worse is the frustration that goes in to depression and finally over to despair because what's going on there, kids, is nobody's actually providing real help from where the troubles are. The direct care staff at these other places, the teachers and everything, can't provide that for them because they do not have that crucial information from the full functional behavioral assessment to be able to guide them to help them deal with these dangerous behaviors. They are literally just guessing. And that frustration from the kid, because those triggers are continuing to not be dealt with, will cause a jump in more extreme and intense behavioral issues over time. Because nothing is helping. Now, JRC, when I say nothing is helping, I don't mean that the answer is to send them off to your torture center. I mean the fact that those triggers are still going unaddressed. And the fact that you have built your entire program off of a punishment model tells me and any other logical human being that those triggers are still not being dealt with. Your so-called success is not success at all. It's a mask that all of us, at some level or another, create for ourselves as an act of survival. Which is why, say you remove us out of the violent situation, we no longer have that threat hanging over our necks and breathing down our backs. Why those behaviors are going to come back. And why they're going to be more intense than they were ever before they got sent to your hellhole. Because now not only do you have triggers that have never been properly addressed, now you've got PTSD, anger, and rage and fear added on top of it. So this whole thing here, you all are like the bar none worst sales people, JRC, that I have ever seen. And you know, I've actually met myself and looked at myself in the mirror. If you are beating me with being that abysmal into selling your argument, you should probably step out of this particular field and think about life choices. Just saying. Saying is all. And again, with the probate court, because the JRC does this all the time. But the Massachusetts court says, shut the fuck up. For the love of God. Please. Like, makes me twitchy. Okay? Massachusetts does not have the best track record in the world when it comes to their judges making rational decisions. The Massachusetts state is known worldwide for one singular fucking reason. The Salem witch trials. I know. I have traveled outside the U.S. A lot of my dad's folks are on the East Coast. My aunt lives in Massachusetts. They said, oh, where those evil witch trials happened. I got that response out of Edinburgh, Scotland, Cambridge, England, Oxford, England, and London. Okay, stop. Judges do not go to medical school. They go to law school. Continuing to throw that in the face like that is somehow the answer to all questions is just obnoxious and brain dead at this point. Okay? Good God. Now, the ESD treatment has provided immediate and significant suppression of RAG's SIB and AB. RAG's mother, Rag's court-appointed counsel who consulted with an independent expert to evaluate RAG's case, and a guardian ad litem appointed by the probate court to further protect RAG's rights, all urged the court to allow RAG's continued treatment with the GED. Here the fuck we go again. About those court guardians. They're your employees, JRC. You really think they're gonna open their mouths and lambaste you to hell like you deserve? That's not an argument that works. In particular, because every single other doctor, clinician, neurologist, psychologist, psychiatrist says not only are you wrong, but that you are monsters and an embarrassment to the field. Okay? Spare me. If you are paying your experts paychecks in regards to what you're trying to argue here, the argument automatically becomes void. And we all know, because we've been doing this for quite some time, that you have yet to produce so much as a single other expert in this field that backs your insanity. Folks, we're coming up on 20 goddamn years here since I joined this particular fight. If there had been any point in time since this all went viral that they had a single person outside of the JRC's influence to speak on their behalf, I would fucking know. Just saying. Let's continue, shall we? In regards, but that's immediate stopping of the dangerous behaviors. I'm going to say the same analogy that I keep saying. If I'm having an autistic meltdown, which are extremely rare for me, we're talking years in between each one. But if I'm having a meltdown and somebody socks me in the face, that meltdown is probably going to stop for a second just out of the shock due to sudden violence against my person. That does not mean that what I should do is move a direct care staff, my brother, what have you, into my home so that every single time I'm in meltdown, they punch me in the face to stop it. Because kids, that's what they call abuse. And it's the same situation here. Okay? Number 2, after going through forms of abuse, that is when, literally to the man and woman on the spectrum here, we first began to learn how to mask as a response to violence, emotional, psychological, or physical. It's a response, folks. It's a survival mechanism. We come to the idea fairly young that if we just show these people what they want to see, and if we can play that role and convince them enough, maybe the abuse can stop. Or at the very least, those acts of violence against our person can become a little bit less. Okay? I learned how to mask far too goddamn young. Okay? Young enough that, yeah, it haunts me even now. It's the case with a lot of people, especially autistics from my generation. Okay? What that means is, but they stopped all the behaviors. If that masks, it means the mask is successful, and I've already explained numerous times the psychological, emotional, and physical tolls of pretending to be someone else every single day of your goddamn existence takes on us. Particularly in regards to us rejecting our own true selves to project this, because we are being told that extremely vulnerable young ages, that how we are born, how we are as full function actual autistic people, and we're not really human. We are told that we have to earn the right to our parents' affection and love. We have to earn the right to be treated with human dignity by our teachers, direct care staff, and our caseworkers. That we have to be absolutely perfect in a way that is not demanded at all from our neurotypical peers in the same age group. And I hate to tell you all this, those issues are not dealt with once it's safe enough to do so. This is what causes so many of us to not being able to even live to see the age 40. because the stress causes heart issues, emotional issues. Many of us end ourselves by our own hands because of this. Okay? So please, for the love of God, spare me. Yes, the behaviors are disappearing before your eyes because we are masking like hell. Eventually, we're going to be too tired and exhausted and wrung out to continue to hold up that mask. And it will drop. And when that happens, you all will throw us back onto the torture device. Okay? Don't pat yourself on the back because your form of abuse has forced these poor kids to learn how to mask. And don't think for a second that masking is a solution to this insanity. It's a fucking band-aid on a wound that requires stitches. Okay? If you do not deal directly with the triggers, as discovered through the process of taking a full functional behavioral assessment, then you are not gaining shit. And when that mask drops, in particular when we go into full burnout, you're going to find out real quick that all those problem behaviors have simply been suppressed. They're not gone. And when you suppress something for too long and you just can't do it anymore, those problems don't go away. And that means all those behaviors are going to be coming out and pouring out at once. And it's a damn scary thing, people. I know because I experienced it when I was 16 years old. All right, let me continue here. In regards to this, the court ultimately authorized continued treatment with ESD after hearing evidence concerning RAG's significant progress. There is a thing in the medical model that drives me completely batshit insane. And what that thing happens to be is the fact that a lot of these folks can't seem to see the difference between a kid that is masking and a kid that's actually making real progress. What I mean by that is, when we mask, there is suppression of the behaviors. But nobody digs into why. And when it comes to us, you better fucking start digging. Okay? And I will say, well, look, they stopped their behaviors. Obviously, this is progress. No. No, it's not. It means I learned how to mask and suppress my issues. But you can't suppress them forever. Eventually, the dam's going to burst. And when it does, not only will all those behaviors come back in alphabetical order, but they are going to be way more intense and dangerous to ourselves and everywhere around us than they had ever been beforehand. We need our doctors in the sane medical model to do a bit more digging if they think they're seeing progress. Because what you're seeing may be a projection, a mirage, a character that we have created in order to get people to leave us the fuck alone. And you, as doctors, need to know the difference between real progress because triggers are actually being addressed and the mask of us giving Oscar-worthy performances, portraying a fan-fictionalized version of being neurotypical. Okay? Because as long as we keep doing this crap, it's going to be the same never-ending perpetual circle of mask, fall down, and everything goes to hell. Mask again, and over and over and over again we go. And we're going to go ahead and close out on that for this morning, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do have do tend to get removed from time to time. You know the drill. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to utilize those comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'm going to see you all a little bit later in the day. Bye-bye, everyone.